Welcome back to another video. Today we're doing Florida State and addressing their problems. Um, my scheduled video for Florida State did pretty well, and I had them going 3-9. I kind of wanted to address more about my problems with Florida State, and I want y'all to know I'm not doing all this because I'm biased because I'm a Florida fan. I'm doing this. I'm not even kind of. I am doing this to just talk about Florida State and address a couple of problems I think of what they've been going over these last couple of years under Mike Norvell. Uh, my number one biggest problem with them is Mike Norvell. I think his tenure in Florida State is coming to an end soon, especially on how he does this season. If they go 3-9, like I said, or anywhere near that, he's gonna get fired mid-season. Um, the number one thing I want to bring up, I think, with Mike Norvell's inconsistency. In 2023, he finished 13-0 and won the ACC championship. We all know this with Jordan, Travis, and the rest of the group. Then the year after, the Seminoles will have literally their worst season ever in program history and went to 2-10. Now, we knew Florida State probably wasn't going to be that same team coming in next year, but we at least thought they would come in with the mindset. They were snubbed from the college football playoffs. You think they would come with the mindset that we got to prove to everyone why they shouldn't have snubbed us. He did the exact opposite. He proved to everyone that the committee made the right choice. And granted, we can do the Florida State got in, they would have won the championship, or this or that. Did they deserve to get in? Yes. Did I think they were going to win? No. I think Michigan that year was kind of destined to win the way their team was set up. I think the inconsistency with Mike Norvell has just not been the best. He has had 2 losing seasons now, back to back. This is the same Mike Norvell also that lost to Jacksonville State on the game winner. I think it's a lot of things with Mike Norvell in his inconsistency that's kind of going wrong bad. Number 2, over reliance on the transfer portal. I think a lot of Florida fans from Florida State fans I've talked to, their biggest problem is the overuse of the transfer portal. Granted, we're in a time now where, yes, the transfer portal is very, very important to use. But the transfer portal is also showing us recruiting is still very important when you want to build a future. Now, I will give credit to Mike Norvell for using the portal successfully and correctly, because he's got an undefeated season under his belt. Technically, because they lost to Georgia in the bowl game, but he's had at least an undefeated regular season and won an ACC championship off of an amazing portal class. It's just the problem is Florida State after that season, I think they became dependent on it. Most of their players now have just come straight from the portal. Like, my fault, my phone stopped recording. The further deep down into it, though, like I said, many of the big stars Norvell had that year. Of course, we know Jordan Travis, Jared Verse, Keon Coleman, Trey Benson, Johnny Wilson, and Brandon Fisk. Like, they brought them some of the best talent ever. And I think, like I said, they became too dependent on it. And that shows with the year following, where a lot of their players came out the portal and even kind of go deeper. With DJ, I'm probably going to pronounce his name, and I do apologize for the pronunciation. DJ Uwangale came from Clemson, and it was kind of strange to see how bad he played at Florida State, considering the fact anyone who was really watching DJ at Clemson, he was a Heisman candidate at Clemson. Like, people forget that. Like, he was considered for a Heisman the year before that. He played really good at Clemson. I just don't think he fit Florida State's system. I will say it was a lot on him too. He made a lot of bad throws, but I do think that Florida State system played some part in it. And even the year after that, with Tommy Castellano was going in the portal, bringing in another quarterback, Like they're becoming too dependent on it. I don't see them, and they're not really developing these players. They're getting out of the portal. They're just expecting these players to come here and kind of just make an impact that soon. And granted, that's kind of the obvious thing you want from the portal. These players to come in and do that. But let's be honest. Like DJ on paper, he was actually a good transfer. Tommy Castellanos, when he came, it was like, okay, he might be able to do something. But they haven't had no real hard hitters out the portal other than DJ, and I'll give them Deuce Robinson. Other than that, they didn't have really no other good transfers. I think this year they had a solid transfer portal. I do think, is it going to lead them somewhere? Most likely not. My third problem with Florida State is recruiting has not been elite at all. Florida State has kind of just been, I wouldn't say bottom of the barrel. That's wrong to say. But they have not been the absolute best when it's come to recruiting. In 2020, Mike Norvell, these are the rankings that Mike Norvell has had during his tenure at Florida State. In 2020, he nationally ranked 22. 2021, 23. 2022, he ranked 20. 2023, he ranked 19. 2024, he ranked 11. 2025, he ranked between 19 and 23. He finished around 20. In 2026, he's ranked 14. And you got to think, all the other top programs who you don't want in front of you is in front of him. The Georgia, Alabama, Texas, Miami, Florida. Granted, John Summerall has done an amazing job at Florida when it comes to recruiting as soon as he got here. I will give him that. But I do think it gets to a point where you have to be like, yo, our recruiting is not matching everybody else's recruiting. The talent that we want to bring in, we're not bringing in. Everybody else is bringing in. And people don't realize, like, Florida State is slowly falling behind. They just went 2-10, had another losing season after that. They started off that season solid with beating Alabama, then it fell downhill from there. Mike Norvell is he's not a good recruiter. And there is an interview with a player, and I forgot who that player was. If I find that clip, I should put this in the video. But he said when he went there, there was nothing exciting that Mike Norvell was really offering. And I do think Mike Norvell is like this whole video. Mike Norvell is the main problem with Florida State. Because it starts with the head coach. So, and also, I just think Florida State it's hard to say it's too large of a program for him to control when he's went undefeated and won an ACC championship. He's shown he can win there. He just doesn't have, he's not bringing in the players he probably wants. They're not coming in with the same mindset that the first class, like that transfer for with Jordan Travis had. Like, there's no hunger there with the players that he's bringing in. So, my next point is player development. I think Mike Norvell is not very good. I feel like we kind of already know this. He's not very good at developing players. You know, that's the whole reason for hitting the portal. Is so you don't have to really develop that many players. And Florida State's falling out of the making homegrown players ready to take over. Because when Jordan Travis and everybody left, who did they have to replace him? He had to hit the portal again in other couple of spots for field because some players did come back, but they did not play that good. Then the year after that, it was the same thing. DJ went to the NFL. Half the team left, either hit the portal or went to the. They didn't have that many players go to the NFL. A lot of their players hit the portal, actually. So he was left in the same position where he had to go back to the portal and get another quarterback, get more wide receivers. He got all this still failed because the players he brought in, he couldn't fully develop them yet. Like, if you go back and watch Florida State's previous season, they ran the exact same offense throughout the whole season. Like, it was nothing special about this. They ran the same reverses, the same trying to deep balls with Deuce Robinson. They didn't even get Squirrel White in none of the action, and that's the most disappointing part because Squirrel White is really talented. He's one of the fast. He's at the time he was one of the fastest people in all of college football, and you don't use him. You had two of the fastest players in the country. You don't use them like that, or use them at least smart. You just banked on Deuce Robinson catching everything, which is understandable. The man is what 6'6", 6'7". So I understand. And Deuce Robinson, I think going into next year is at least a top 20 receiver in college football. And I think he's gonna have an amazing year. You probably like, how are they gonna have an amazing year if they're going 3-9? Stats is such, like, in college your record can be horrible. You can be 0-12, and I promise you, somebody on the team somehow still balled out. It's just how that goes in college. I do think Florida State, or not Florida State, I would say Mike Norvell has the chance to. I want to see what they do with Kevin Sparry. He played in the game against Stanford. He made a couple of throws. They were all right. He's not going to start this year. Ashton Daniels is going to start. But I wonder if after, I don't know how long Ashton Daniels is going to be. I cannot remember Ashton Daniels as a senior or not. Granted, I don't see Ashton Daniels, unless Ashton Daniels has like a monster year and his draft stock just jumps up. I don't see him really doing anything special. Sperry, he's the one you've been developing. So if Mike Norvell can develop him and he comes in and starts balling out, I do think there is a lot of development issues and poor roster management when it's been coming to Florida State these last couple of years. They're rarely getting the homegrown, kids who want to play for Florida State. There's not many kids saying they want to play for Florida State. I'm being so honest. Florida has not been a contender in, I would say, 5 years, 6 years? I would say the last time we were a contender is when LSU won the national championship, or the year before that, or the year with Cal Trask. But kids still want to play for Florida. Kids still want to go play for Miami. And Florida State is losing that reputation because they're just slowly moving down to the bottom. And that's just in the state. We're not even talking about in the country. And I think another big problem is, to my point number 5 at this point, coaching staff decisions. When Mike Norvell left Memphis, he brought a lot of his Memphis staff with him. Wasn't really a good idea. I can understand why he did it. Didn't work out. He fired them. I think he called the offense for that season. They went undefeated, if I remember. I can't remember correctly. I don't know who called the defense that year. I do know at some point they fired the defensive coordinator and they hired an offensive coordinator. They hired Gus Malzahn and they hired Tony White. Tony White did all right in his first year. A couple things he could work on. I think he's going to get better as time goes on. I don't think he had the players he wanted in his particular defensive style. And Gus Malzahn was just running the same offense every game. He was creative in the first game, but after that it was over. They hired the wide receiver coach to be an offensive coordinator, so I think it's going to be interesting to see how that goes. But I think there's been a lot of bad coaching staff decisions over the years too. And to my next point, the lack of program identity. My phone cut off again. I am so sorry. My phone cannot handle all these videos I'm recording. But number 6 was the lack of program identity. And it really, I think the question right now, I think Florida State fans, you can ask yourself, what is your identity? Like, your identity right now. You're not recruiting at all. Well, that good. Is it a recruiting problem? Is it a development problem? Is it a transfer portal problem? Is it we don't have an elite defense, we don't have an elite offense? Those are all the questions I think as a program right now they have to ask themselves. Because you have to think, if you're Florida State, you're trying to get back into conversations with Georgia, Alabama, Miami, Indiana now has put themselves in there. Ohio State. Who else is in there? I don't want to say Texas, but we can say Texas. Like, you want to put yourselves in those conversations constantly. It's very inconsistent of where y'all end up in that conversation, which I always say Florida State, it's hard for me to put them in those conversations all the time as great programs, is because they've been inconsistent so much these last 6 years, even going before that. So y'all can tell me y'all thoughts. I do think at some point Florida State, or at least Mike Norvell, has to build a sustainable championship program to where you can constantly make college football playoffs. You put yourself in that conversation almost every year. I think right now it's just asking yourself, where did Florida State go wrong at? And I'd love to hear you guys' thoughts on it, especially Florida State fans. I'm always up for discussion, so hope you guys enjoyed this video. I will see y'all in the next one, and have a very, very blessed day.